Joseph P. King, we have 242 students, and at Franklin High School, we have 286. And that is as of 9/18, and we keep an accurate count, as I stated, the first 10 days of school and ongoing throughout the school year. That is our student count as we currently speak now.
How does this compare to last year? Are these numbers up from what they were at this period last year? Or?
Yes, sir. The numbers are up, and again, good question, Mr. Rusnak. As we led into this new fiscal year, we built our budget based upon the number 1062, and so right now we're at 1,110. That's a good question. Always want to keep an accurate count of that. And I'd like to give you an update on our benchmark pre-screening. We do the measure of academic progress, but unfortunately, we ran into some glitches. It wasn't on our side. The system basically had a terrible glitch, and it interfered with testing. So our MAPS assessment was interrupted, and our teachers are working diligently now, making up that time. And so what we will do is come back to you with our MAPS assessment updates once all students have completed their MAPS assessment to give you that data. Additionally, we have included the Franklin City Public Schools district testing calendar. As you know, they're going to be busy at Franklin High School as early as next month, coming up with writing. So the testing season is upon us. Our teachers are gearing up, preparing, and also our teachers are gearing up. They're pre-assessing, assessing, and they will begin benchmarks in about 2 weeks, right, Mr. Phelps, over there at the high school? About 2 weeks. Benchmark October 3rd and 4th, and here we go. And then that'll be leading up to testing coming up for the high school. And this is our complete testing calendar for the year. And I'd like to thank Ms. Anita Harris for working diligently along with the principals to make this testing calendar a reality. And this is the format that we'll follow. And as I stated, it begins in October. I'd also update the board on the school profile update. These are the updates that when you go to the Virginia Department of Education, these are the new student profiles. And first you'll see Joseph P. King Jr. Middle School, and it gives you the accreditation rating, Title I improvement, reward status, and at the bottom it gives you their proficiency as it relates to math, science, history, and also reading. So these are the updates of the profile that we used to call the report cards. The report cards. This is the new format. You'll see Franklin High School update. And also the school profile for S.P. Morton Elementary School. And we also included the status report that we see in SSWS, and that's the single sign-on system for the state of Virginia, and that gives the current year, the previous year, and also the 3-year average of each school. And we put that in format for the board's view as well.
And as we view this, the information for the school profile, that was that September 13th date that we were waiting for. This is now, you could not see that that JPK King was accredited, but after the September 13th date, you will see on the VDOE website, and we gave you the screenshots from that you can see that they are fully accredited. But as we look down also to SP Morton, and their accomplishments as well, as even though they were accreditation denied, since this journey of being under the MOU, they have increased in reading over 34 percentage points. And that is a huge gain for our division. So we're looking for them to increase between 8 to 10 points next year as we move our entire division towards accreditation,
Yes,
being fully accredited.
absolutely. Yes,
right.
Mr. And to the Board of Education, that concludes my report.
Mr. Edwards, we'd just like to thank you publicly. We had the reception earlier. But we want to say thank you, along with the Joseph P. King team, for your diligence in the journey. Thank you.
I have provided you the professional development log for your review, as well as the MOU updates. And if there are no further questions, that concludes the superintendent's report.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask a question. And maybe the board clerk can provide clarity, or another board member may recall. I believe we need to back up to 2.5, but I didn't want to interrupt the superintendent's report. Go back to the beginning, go back to the beginning. I believe we omitted tonight 2.5, the motions from closed session.
I think you're correct. You're right. Let's go back and pick that up. Thank you. I think we have a personnel motion from closed
Yes,
session.
that
Do
is
we have a motion from closed session on personnel?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the personnel agenda as presented.
Thank you. A second.
I second.
Discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Holland.
You're welcome.
Unfinished business, 5.1, second reading, policy GCQA, non-school employment by staff members.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like for us, as we are reviewing this policy tonight, this is what we had discussion about earlier. As I recall, the only thing, there are two changes. Where we see that's highlighted is underlined, that is a change. And then also the attachment is a change that says request for approval of secondary employment. That is also a change. My concern with this policy is who actually provided the wording to change the policy. Whether or not research was done to draft this form or create this form for request of approval for secondary employment. As a school board, we supervise the superintendent. The superintendent supervises her staff. And so as a board member, I don't see a concern with the policy as written. The policy, it states right at the bottom, it gives the legal references, and all of that is on the original policy. All the legal references and the codes are on the original policy. And so I don't have a concern with the policy as written.
I guess we're getting ahead of it by discussing it without a motion. So do we have a motion to approve policy GCQA?
I make a motion to approve the policy GCQA.
Do we have a second? That motion dies for a lack of second. Item 5.2, second reading, policy IGAB, advanced placement and dual enrollment courses. Do we have a motion to approve that policy?
make a motion we approve the policy IGAB, advanced placement dual enrollment courses.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I'd just like to thank Ms. Sterling and her staff and the hard work from the high school, and because this has definitely been an endeavor to revise the policy.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve that policy signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Under Virginia, item 6.1, Virginia Kindergarten Readiness Program, MOU, I believe that's the CASTL that we discussed. Is there a motion to approve that?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the MOU for the Virginia's Kindergarten Readiness Program.
Second.
A second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Authorization to request appropriation. Where do we have that?
It's all the way in the back. Yes, that was brought to us from the finance director. It's in the yellow sheets.
That's under tab 7. Page 2. We have a motion to approve the authorization for request of appropriation.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2018 authorization to request appropriation of $100,000 from existing cafeteria funds to the 2017-2018 fiscal year budget.
Second.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve the appropriation increase signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. School board coverage under workers' compensation.
In your packet, you have a proposal for the school board to be added to the school system's workers' comp. And if you are interested in being a part of the workers' comp, you would have to adopt the resolution. What I have done is I have spoken with our representative in regards to the cost, as to how much it would cost to have all 7 board members added to our workers' compensation. It would be $500 to $600.
That's for the year,
Yes,
one time.
yes, sir.
Per board member?
No, ma'am. Altogether, as a collective body, it would be $500 to $600 to add you to our workers' comp. And after you adopt this resolution, it would be, you all would be covered immediately. So if you would adopt it tonight, I would make a call to our representative, and you would be covered on tomorrow.
Ms. Kendrick, what do most other school divisions across our state do? Do we survey that?
From some information that I received, there are not a lot of other school divisions, I guess, that have their members covered under workers' compensation. And according to the information that you have in your packet, it's because board members are not classified as employees. However, with this resolution, you would be classified as an employee, making you eligible for those benefits.
What other consequences does being classified as an employee bring with it?
That would be strictly for the purpose of adding you to workers' compensation. It wouldn't have an effect on any other items. It's solely for the purpose of workers' comp.
Now, when we did the budget, this $500, because we want to think I'm wearing that budget hat tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
So everything we do, we're pulling from some line item somewhere. So
Yes,
where's this
ma'am.
money coming from?
I have
If
indicated.
it's
a
$2.
pla- Yes, ma'am. I have indicated a place within our budget where we could add this, and we would be okay if the board is interested in doing so. And if it's not something that you're interested in on this year, then we can look at it on next year. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention as an option, that this is something that is available to you.
If I could talk a little bit about cost-benefit ratio kind of things.
Please.
What you need to understand first is that you would only be covered for a work-related, meaning work with the school division, work-related accident. So that if you were on school property, whether it be at Armory Park for a football game or graduation, and you fell down the steps, or if you were at one of the schools and tripped and fell, those kinds of work-related injuries where you were on school business, then you would be covered under workman's compensation. The primary benefit of that would be that your medical expenses would be covered. As far as your wages are only going to be 66 2/3% of your annual salary. So you know what your salary is. It's not a whole lot in terms of the coverage you're going to get as far as your annual salary. While you're out of work, you would get that amount times 66 2/3%. The biggest benefit to you would be that your medical expenses for a work-related injury would be covered. It's not a health insurance kind of thing. It is just as if you were in private industry and you were injured on the job.
Or if we were traveling to a
Work
training
rela-
convention,
work-related-
an auto accident, and it could be pretty expensive.
A lot of times when that situation occurs where you're in an automobile accident, then you have to pick and choose between the coverage that might be available to you under the automobile coverage versus the workers' comp coverage. Typically, you can't claim both coverages. You get one or the other.
Since we have not visited this topic before, discussed it, I guess my question is, this was added to the agenda, but how many of us really, I guess maybe I should just go ahead and make a motion.
Make a motion.
I make a motion that we postpone this discussion indefinitely at this time.
Do we have a second? That motion fails. Do we have another motion?
I make a motion we accept it and as coverage under workers' comp for the school board members.
Do we have a second?
Cost that much.
That motion fails.
I make a motion that we table the item and for further discussion and study over the coming months.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
May I
Opposed, no?
ask? Oh, I'm sorry.
Nay. I oppose.
One no?
Yes.
Okay.
May I ask if there is any other additional information that you want me to gather? If you could email that to me, then I'll be more than happy to oblige in answering those questions for you. Are there any other
Well, since
questions?
you're emailing the information, my vote was nay.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you also provide the information on how many school districts are actually doing this? Is
Yes.
it one? Is
Yes.
it two?
Yes, ma'am, I
I'd
will
like
do
to
that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Kendrick.
We have a proposal to change our work sessions and rotate among our 3 schools. And that is under tab 7. And the first such meeting would be October 5th at SP Morton, the November 2nd meeting would be at JP King, and the December 7th meeting would be at Franklin High School. Do we have a motion to move our work sessions to the schools per the memorandum?
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to accept a proposal to the school board for location changes for school board work sessions.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Our Franklin City Public School Emergency Response Plan that has been presented. Do we have a motion to approve that?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the emergency response plan as presented earlier in our meeting.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Business by school board members. Anything?
I'd like to commend Mrs. Moore, who's a new board clerk, in getting the information out to board members in reference to the organizational chart and advising board members in advance of meeting dates. That has been very helpful to me. I'd also like to commend Ms. Tamara Sterling, our division superintendent, for the board communications that we receive. We receive very detailed board communications. She's been very proactive in making sure that we receive information first from her. So I want to appreciate you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
The audience can't see this, but Ms. Morris provided these nice packets for us, which are very nice, instead of having stuff all over everywhere. So, anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we adjourn.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you.
Well, nice